everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Friday to you all. We've all made it to the weekend. If it is your weekend, I understand that if it's not, then I hope that whenever your weekend comes, or if it's already come, then it was amazing. But happy Friday and happy weekend to all of us. I just hope that you have great plans. If you are celebrating Memorial Day, then it's a 3-day weekend, which I am stoked about. I'm so happy about, because I definitely need that extra time, even though, you're probably asking yourself why, or asking me like, Sabrina, why would you need extra time? We're all in quarantine right now. Like, okay, I get it, but still, I still like work like a regular full-time job during the day, currently from home. So I definitely want that break of not having to be chained to my desk for 8.5 hours every day. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and being able to have more time to create content or go outside and work out, and the things that are super, super important to me, like creating content and just like getting the show on the road that I've been wanting to do, like creating videos and creating more podcasts and episodes and getting all of that organized. So anyway, I hope that your weekend is going to be absolutely fantastic. Just a reminder that this week we are talking about creating SMART goals, and today is the last episode in that series. And today we're talking about creating timely goals. But before that, as I say every single time, I hope that if your day has just started, that it's going to be fantastic, that you have a positive mindset and you're ready to take on the day, and it's going to be fantastic. If you're in the middle of your day or towards the end, I hope that it's been great, and I hope that it continues to be great. And if it's been bad or it's starting off bad, you know what you do. You know what to do. If you're not new here, you know that I'm always going to encourage you to take that 5-minute reset time. Take that time to reboot, reset, come back to baseline. Find some time for yourself to be able to inject some peace and some calmness into your life, maybe some problem solving time to get over whatever crap is getting in your way, if you need to be able to live out the rest of your day and tomorrow to be better, and be able to walk away from that alone time that's at least 5 minutes, but I hope that you have at least 10 to 15, to be able to finish off your day, at least neutral. And I always say, you don't have to be the most positive person in the world. You just need to be able to walk away neutral, to continue to be grateful for what you have in your life, and to be humble as well. So I hope that it's a great day though. So let's just go ahead and jump into our last episode, creating timely goals. I don't know why I said it so dramatically, but it did. So this is our last step in the SMART goals formula. So yay for that. I believe this is the most important step in the process of creating goals, because it's what will keep you in line and keep you on track. Creating timely goals means you need to create a deadline for your goal. Having an open-ended goal will give you the freedom to never accomplish it, procrastinate, and just never get anywhere. And, that might seem like having an open-ended goal might just be like, I really just like the comfort and the freedom and just being able to have extra time to get it done. But, the discipline there to create a deadline and actually just be able to schedule in those extra times. So if you find that you get really tired and burnt out really quickly, then you just need to schedule that into the timeline. So you can work for a couple weeks and then take a couple days off, and then work for a couple weeks and take a couple days off, or whatever. Or if you'd rather work 3 on, 2 off, and then continue that way, whatever works for you. You just need to implement it into the timeline. Don't just just let yourself go and figure it out along the way. I was going to say something else, but I just feel like that's a better way to say it. Don't just let yourself freely, just be out there doing whatever, whenever you want, because honestly, that's never the way it works. You got to have discipline, and you got to have a plan if you want to actually accomplish things in a good amount of time and actually learn from it and not procrastinate and not miss out on possible opportunities along the way. Creating milestones and actions that can be checked off along the journey of your goal is so rewarding and encouraging. These milestones can really be the thing that continues to motivate you and push you to the next one. It can also give you a sense of pride and accomplishment every time you check one off. So I always say that when you create goals, just creating one giant goal, let's say you're okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, and that's your goal. And and yes, I know that weight loss is a touchy subject. It's just an example. I just, if you prefer another example, think of another one. But it's an easy example that actually uses like metrics in it. So you want to lose 10 pounds, or let's say you want to be at the gym and you want to be able to bench press 100 pounds, okay? Whatever one it is, it doesn't matter. You can't just like have that overarching goal of like, okay, I want to do this, like that's what I want to do. You have to break it down into milestones, because how do you think you're going to be able to accomplish that goal if you don't have mini goals on the way? Because you won't have any sort of direction. You won't be able to tell like where you are progressing, how you're doing along. When we talked about earlier in the week, like being able to measure your goals, this goes along with that. Being able to track your progress and actually having that progress on a timeline is so helpful, because you'll be able to check off things along the way. So let's say, if you want to lose weight, you got to be like, okay, well, I need to be able to choose a correct way to, the best way for me to do calorie deficit. Okay. And then you want to choose the best exercises to do. And then you want to be able to track the weight loss that you've gotten based upon what you're doing. So, and then maybe you get to like step 2 or 3 or 5 in your, however long your timeline is, and then you realize that things aren't going the way you want. So you decide to, kind of start a separate track off of that to try something else to see if that works better. And then you can get back on track once you figure out a solution that works better, and so that you can be like, okay, well, I've gotten down to 2 pounds, I've gotten to 3 pounds, I've gotten to 4 pounds. Or let's say you want to work on like being able to lift more at the gym. Okay, so you want to start out with a certain amount of reps and like be able to max out on that in a certain weight and be able to build yourself up to that weight. And then once you get to that weight, you want to be able to have however many reps you want to be able to do to know that you've actually accomplished that goal. So you see what I mean? You got to have small milestones along the way. So little things, like little boxes that you can check off as you go along. You know that you're actually making progress. You can see where you need to change things if necessary. And then if you find a process that works really well, maybe you'll be able to speed it up, because you'll be able to look it over and see how it's worked so far and be like, wow, if I just do this thing, be able to speed it up. You try it, it does work. If you try it and it doesn't work, then you're like, okay, well, at least I know what already worked was this process right here, so I won't mess with it and I'll just continue on. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just so good to have milestones along the way. Also, they will be able to, motivate you and push you to the next one. It's always nice to be like, okay, like let's say you're like, okay, I was able to bench press 40 pounds. Like, oh my gosh, you get so excited because you're like so close to your goal and you're almost there. And like, but maybe let's say you started at benching like 20, and so now you've already benched 20 more than you originally could, and so that's a really big deal as well. And so you're just able to like pat yourself on the back and be excited about that. Just really does give you a sense of pride and accomplishment every time you're able to check one off and you're progressing and you're feeling good about yourself, and you're telling yourself, wow, I could actually like follow through and get things done. So that's a great feeling. Creating a timely goal also gives you something to look forward to every single day, more so if it's broken down into multiple steps, which I highly suggest. So again, if you create a timely goal, if you create a goal that has an actual timeline, has an actual deadline where you have to get it done by, like, let's say you want to be able to bench press, 100 pounds within however many months. I honestly, for me, for like progressive overload, for that kind of thing, it's I haven't really actually like tracked it on a calendar. I do track it over time when I was going to the gym, when the gym was open. I can't wait to go back to the gym. But when the gym was open, I was tracking it, but I never like took time to reflect back on how long it took me to get to like lift more and more and more, because it just wasn't important to me at the time. It was just important to track it and just continue to grow, to move up, in weight. And then I would go back and look over it later, but I don't know how long that actually would take, but it's important to have those steps to see the progress. So when you do look back and you need to do that same process again, or you want to teach someone else how to do it, you have a clear outline for them to look over and see and have an example of. It might not be exactly what they would do, but it'd be a good example. So I highly suggest, again, you have to have multiple steps when trying to achieve your goal, because if it's just like, that's just the goal, then you might feel very confused. You might feel very unsure of like what you need to do, what direction you need to go. You might get lost somewhere thinking you need to do it this way. You might be trying to achieve your goal in 4 or 5 different ways. So you're pulled in multiple directions and then you're wasting more time. Like, that's so unnecessary. Just create a deadline, create a timeline, milestones along the way, you're good to go. Creating a deadline for your goal will also implement some accountability for yourself, which a lot of us need on the regular. So, maybe you work better with an actual accountability partner. I know a lot of people that prefer that, when they do like different challenges or, things that really push them to change that are also goals. People love to have others with them along the way. I kind of like that, but I like it from afar. So for example, in the past, I've done like running challenges where you have to run a mile every day and that you would log it on the app. And so I kind of like that because you're cheering other people on that you don't necessarily know. It's over the internet, but I don't feel like people all up in my grill. Like at the gym, I don't go with a workout partner. I just can't. That's not my jam. That's not my vibe. I can't do that. But maybe you do like that. Maybe you want to, like, you and your best friend to be doing the same thing, and then you check in on each other every time. Or if you're working with like some sort of coach or a mentor, and they are keeping you accountable. But I think that it's also important to keep yourself accountable, and by creating a deadline and actually sticking to it and making that promise to yourself, you're creating accountability for yourself. And I believe, as many people have said, that any promises that you make to yourself, you should keep, because that's just so much respect for yourself and things will actually get done. And if you can't keep promises to yourself, then I don't know why you expect yourself to be able to keep promises to others, or others to keep promises to you. You got to put out there, you got to treat yourself how you want others to treat you. So, but make sure you're choosing a reasonable amount of time to finish your goal. Don't get overzealous or ambitious with this, but also don't drag your feet on purpose. So, you're like, okay, Sabrina, you told me to create a deadline, you told me to create a timeline. Like, I just want to like get done with this like in a month. Like, let's say that you want to lose, or like 2 weeks, you're like, I just want to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. And like, or you want to be able to lift 100 pounds, when you're starting from 20 in like a month. Like, I definitely know that would be really difficult to do. So you want to be realistic with your timeline. Do not get over ambitious or overzealous about this. You might be excited, and that period of time of being super excited, like that height of excitement, is only going to last for so long. Like, yes, you could definitely be excited for the whole process, the whole way through, but you are not going to be able to keep, based on the research I've done and people I've talked to, you're not going to be able to keep that level of excitement through the whole thing, because there's going to come some times where it's tough. There's going to come some times where you don't want to follow through with whatever you have to do that day to fulfill the next milestone for accomplishing your goal in the end. There's going to be some tough points where you just don't want to do it. So you need to make sure you choose a reasonable amount of time, so you're not like rushing, but you're also not dragging your feet. You don't want to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to give myself a year. And then you give yourself so much room to like have error or mess up, or and there's no problems with making mistakes, but if you're just giving yourself so much room, then you're really self-sabotaging, and that is definitely not what we're here for. Don't sabotage yourself on purpose just because you're like, well, I'm going to be super loosey-goosey with it and just, not come up with an appropriate amount of time for this goal. And if you don't know how much time you should give yourself for that goal, I encourage you to do some research, talk to someone else that does it. And if you do talk to people that have done it or research it, just make sure you research multiple people and experiences and documentation, because you don't want to put your whole heart into one way and that way doesn't work. You want to take a little bit from here and there and create your own kind of thing. Don't just rely on one person's account. Lastly, creating a timeline for your goal can also help diminish distractions, because you are bound by the timeline you have created for yourself and can't be bothered with distractions. So, that goes back to, creating a good timeline, a reasonable amount of time for you to finish your goal. And by creating that timeline, you can diminish distractions, especially if you keep it pretty tight. So you're like, okay, this week I have to do this. And then if you do need to give yourself a break, you give yourself a day or two, but those days are filled with other things that you weren't able to do because you were working on your goal. And so you're kind of not giving yourself any space to have distractions or be able to like jump off the wagon or just, completely fall off the whole timeline for the goal. You want to and that'll really help you to just focus in and just work your hardest to achieve that goal, honestly. And if you let yourself just get carried away with distractions and you just you can't be bothered to be responsible and accountable to yourself, then you may need to rethink your goal. You will need to rethink your timeline, and then you will really need to rethink your whys, because obviously if that's how you feel about it, then you really need to actually ask yourself, is this really how I feel, or am I just making this up, or is someone else pressuring me to do this goal? You really got to think it through. Don't waste your time trying to accomplish other people's goals because they want them for you. It's sweet. It's nice that they want you to succeed and do these things, but if you're not truly passionate about them, just don't do it, okay? Just don't do it. But yeah, so creating a timeline will really help with distractions, because you're just really planning everything out to a T, mostly. And yeah, you're going to have some fun in there, but you're also gonna not let yourself fall off because you've created such a tight timeline, being able to check things off, getting yourself excited, pushing yourself throughout the whole way. So, and that's it. That's everything I have to talk about creating smart goals. Isn't that exciting? So thanks again for joining me. I am so happy that you've come to listen to today's episode about creating timely goals. And if you're here all week, I'm so glad that you're here. If you really truly enjoyed it, I encourage you to share it with someone else so that they can experience that greatness, that great joy of enjoying it. Not that I'm greatness, nope. Just that they enjoy the greatness of the episode and the knowledge that you can walk away with. So again, happy Friday. Thanks for joining me for the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. I really hope that you enjoyed this week's episodes. I hope that it was helpful for any goal setting that you're doing, any extra time you're taking during quarantine to really just chase those dreams and get those things done. Please check the description box for any show notes where you can find me on Instagram and my email address that you can, send me any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, whatever it may be. So thanks again for joining me. Until next week, you guys. And as per normal, I don't know what we're talking about next week, but I'm really excited about it already, despite that. So until next time, I hope you have a great, great weekend, especially if you have a 3-day weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.